Hey everyone, hope you're having a great day. Today I'll be showing you some more of my Pokemon collection. In a previous video I showed you my graded collection of actual cards that were graded by specific grading services. Now I'm going to show you some raw cards. I have a deck here. It's not all of them, but it's a good portion of the cards I've collected this past year. So I'm really enjoying getting into this hobby. And we'll also discuss some other stuff for fun while I'm showing you these cards. So first and foremost, we have a stained glass tag team Legendary Birds artwork. I think this artwork's definitely grown on me. It's just very pristine and like a work of art, really. It's not just the birds, but it's a stained glass version of them. Um, Now, most of these cards are hopefully investment opportunities as well. I hope that they will grow in value. Now, currently I'm not seeing much growth, but at the least I hope they'll retain their value because I don't think there'll be reprints anytime soon. Um, this one is the bottom half of a two-card set. Um, There's a Kyogre at the top and then Groudon underneath. This one, the condition's really bad, but at the time it was hard to find just one of these on the market, even if the condition was bad. Now a lot more have somehow flooded onto the market, which has unfortunately dipped the price a bit. And I was actually going to buy the top half as well, but something happened with the uh, seller. He basically had listed it and I bought it off Mercari, and he never shipped it, never even replied to any messages, so I'm assuming he just forgot to check Mercari after many months of listing it. And I think some of these cards I might have mentioned in the previous video, but some are new for sure. Um, Somewhat weathered on the back, uh, non-hollow Charizard from the Expedition set. At the time, so I have this one and then a reverse hollow, which if you look closely, the bottom half kind of glows. This one's also a bit weathered in the back. So first off, I've learned that I like cards that are mint condition, or at least near mint. If there's a little white, I like that, but if there's a lot of white, like here it's all scratched up, um, I don't like that as much. And that's something I only could learn through purchasing these cards and then holding them and trying them out. I think that's something that everyone has to learn when they start collecting cards. You don't really know. I thought, I could deal with some weathering, but turns out I prefer more minty cards. They don't have to be perfect, just kind of good. So that was a purchase that I was kind of banking on because the regular hollow is just so expensive. I was just hoping that the non-hollow versions or reverse hollows would one day catch up in value, but right now, I'm kind of torn. I don't know if I like the non-hollows as much, and it's a personal preference thing. It's something you learn after trying them out and collecting them. Movie promo Dragonite, a lot of nostalgia here for me because this is a card that uh, essentially came from the first movie. So it's super old, it's vintage, and that was a movie I did attend but never got the card of. Same thing with this Ancient Mew. Um, this one is in pretty good condition, but the centering is off from front to back. So it's not going to get a 10. A 10 in this sells for a lot actually, $100, $150. But 8s, 9s, they don't sell for much. They sell for basically the cost of grading and the card itself. So that one's not going to be a 10, unfortunately. And both of those movie promo cards were printed into oblivion. So I think the prices have been rising a bit just because I think the demand has been increasing, but not substantially. I think I bought those for about $5 to $10 each, and you might be able to sell them for $20 each if you're lucky nowadays. Um, This is one of my favorites, actually. It's my favorite Blastoise artwork. I mean, it looks like a real Blastoise in the real world. And look how he's like submerged in the water and how enormous he looks. Um, The reverse hollow effect here is maybe the most amazing. You can tell how it kind of glows. It looks even better in person. And the condition of this one is pretty darn good as well. It's not a 10, it may not even be a 9 or 8 because there's some weathering in the top and the left. But this is a card that I really enjoy. I might even consider getting graded. Ideally, I want the actual hollow version, not the reverse hollow. That one's worth more and desired more. But that leads us to the next one. Those are all from the same set, Expedition. Here's another Expedition one. This is an actual hollow. See the sparkles, the shines, Charizard. This one has a decent, well, actually it's kind of weathered. There's a lot of white on all the sides. So, you know, if you could get this in pristine condition and then grade it, it can be worth $1,000, $2,000. But this one I bought for about 100 or maybe 120. I can't remember the exact price. But, you know, when it gets weathered like this, the prices vary a lot. Unfortunately, I did have to go through a scam. I knew eventually I would hit a scam. I sold one of these, another one of these, that was a bit more weathered for 150 bucks on Facebook. And I used PayPal, which is a very secure invoice transaction when you sell it as a good and service. However, the guy was like, hey man, I want to ship it to a different address than what's on the listing. So I did that, you know, on good faith. Turns out he decided to file that he never received it, even though the tracking number told me it was delivered. And maybe he really didn't and it was stolen off his porch like he claims. But I doubt it since it was a local listing, and unfortunately he got the refund. He got the money back because PayPal sided with him. So the next one is Shining Rayquaza, and this one is from the Legend set, and it's more of a modern set, but it looks really, really cool. The back as well is pristine. You know, with modern cards, it's just much easier to get something that's pristine. And it has a nice little horizontal row effect that kind of glows. So this card, got it for about 40 bucks. Nothing too expensive. But as long as they don't reprint this set, which hopefully they won't. You know, it's been around 3 years since they released it. I'm hoping the value will go up. I think Rayquaza is one of the most underrated legendary Pokemon, one of my favorites, and one of the ones that I think will hopefully go up in value. That also, the centering is off, so it won't get a 10, but you know, it's hard to find one of those that are pristine, so I was happy with it. Got one of my first cards I got. It is a Kangaskhan Hollow from the I think it's this is Jungle. So this is from the second ever set released or third ever set of Pokemon cards. So really like it myself. It is unlimited, so it's not first edition. And the condition, I would peg it as an 8. So not that great, and you can probably get one of these for about 12 bucks online right now. So, you know, unfortunately you would expect it to be worth more, but not so much. Nonetheless, you know, it is one of those vintage cards, so maybe it'll go up. I just think maybe they were printed into oblivion, even though it's a hollow, or maybe they're not as desired. But you know, I'll hold on to it. I love any type of hollow from the vintage set. Same old story here, nostalgia for me with the Pikachu promo card. I think this card could go up in value. I mean, there's a lot of nostalgia there and a lot of you know, desire there potentially. Got that for very cheap, about 5 bucks. Lapras Hollow from the Fossil set. Again, one of the first initial sets, one of my favorite cards, one of my favorite Pokemon. Unfortunately, it is pretty weathered in the back. At the time, I was like, I don't care how weathered it is, or as long as it's somewhat good, I want it. And I got that for a decent price, I think around 10 bucks. I hope it goes up in value, because it is a freaking Lapras, but I think I'm learning that, you know, unlimited, if it's not first edition, even if it's from a vintage set, like there's just so many of them on the market that it's hard for it to go up. I guess I underestimated how many are on the market. This one I got as a bonus. It is a Topps Pikachu's Vacation. So this is like the mini movie that came with the first movie that they ever released. So you would think this is pretty darn rare, right? But they gave it away. I bought something else and they gave this to me as a bonus. And when I looked up the price, it's nothing. It's like $5 and you get this. Once again, I think just because it's old, just because it's vintage, if it's printed to oblivion, that's another issue. You know, the supply is just so high. So I'm really getting into Japanese cards. This is the Japanese version of the Dark Alakazam, second ever Alakazam in the Team Rocket set. It is hollow, and with Japanese cards, you know, people are saying how easy they are to grade and how less rare they are. Honestly, I've done a ton of research trying to buy Japanese cards, and 99% of the time, the centering is off. Look at that. You know, the bottom is much closer than the top is, and this side is much closer than that side. So unfortunately, it's a fantastic card, almost pristine, but the centering is off. There's a little white at the bottom here. I thought I got a steal when I bought it at around like $10-15. You know, that's my general price range, but unfortunately not so the case. I don't know if the value will increase much. It is a vintage card, but you know, same old deal there. And then my favorite Snorlax artwork, or at least top 3. I really chose this card because I looked at all the Snorlax artworks that ever were printed, and I found this one to be the cutest, the coolest, and it's actually, you know, I love vintage, so that also was a +1. This is a non-hollow, so not as great. Prefer hollow cards, but it is a Rocket Snorlax from, I believe, the Team Rocket set, which is a pretty vintage set. Unfortunately, they are very cheap to get, so I don't know if the value will ever go up. You can get them for $5, and the condition on that one is so-so. So, you know, some of those cards are up for sale for the right price, and I will probably list my eBay store below and start listing some of them for the right price. You know, some of them are, you know, if I don't get the right price, I'm content keeping them for my collection. But, you know, you learn different things as you collect, and different people have different preferences. And as I've been collecting, I learned I prefer mintier cards. They don't have to be perfect 10s or even 9s, but some of those cards I learned I prefer them with a little less white, a little less issues with the centering and stuff. And that's just something you learn. Some people don't care about the quality as long as they have it. Some care more about the investment perspective. Is this going to rise in value? Is it not? Others just really like the artwork of certain cards. So that's something that I found that you really only learn from purchasing the cards and having them in your collection. How do you feel about them once you have them? Do you want to sell them, or do you want to keep them? So thanks for watching, and yeah, feel free to reach out to me if you have any prices. I don't want any lowball offers because I also have to pay for shipping. Shipping's not cheap as well. But for the right price, I'd be willing to let go on some of those cards. But I'm also, you know, more or less happy with a lot of the purchases I made. I think the artworks, the ones I purchased, were right on track.